Good morning and welcome to the first training organized by Care4Bio for applicants. I'm Serena Borgna. I'm one of the partners of Care4Bio, that is the national contact point networks for Cluster 6. Today we are going to discuss together with several speakers the multi-actor approach that is very important for the applicants that are going to be part in future proposal inside the Cluster 6. The training will last all the morning. We will have several presentations from DG Agri, from REA, from the UCAP network, and also from two projects that are going to present some very interesting best practice about the multi-actor approach. Our aim with this training is to explore in deep the definition of the multi-actor approach concept and explain to the applicant how to strengthen the process of co-creation in the proposal phase, and also to give to the applicant some details about this criteria in order to better include the multi-actor approach inside the proposal in a winning way. I don't want to lose too much time during this introduction because I would like to pass the floor as a first speaker to Despina, that is the Care4Bio coordinator, for some details about the project and the services that Care4Bio is going to do for applicants. Before passing the floor to Despina, just one practical information. This training will foresee an introduction with the speaker through Slido. So you will see in the screen the Care4Bio code for pose your question on Slido. So it will be your tool for asking any kind of curiosity and specification to our speaker. So now I will pass the floor to Despina for this 5 minutes introduction presentation about Care4Bio. Thank you, Despina, and thank you to everybody for being here.
Thank you very much, Serena. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here with us today. As Serena already mentioned, I am part of the coordination team of Care4Bio, which is the network of the national contact points for Cluster 6, which covers food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture, and environment. So just a very brief introduction, why Care4Bio? Just to make sure that the NCPs representing Cluster 6 have more access and more uniform access to information, and are empowered in order to offer added value services to Cluster 6 participants, applicants, and of course, key stakeholders and the entire European ecosystem, and of course, keep all the ecosystem and the European Commission informed about the different aspects of the program. So we have great challenges in this specific thematic area, since we have lots of new initiatives under Horizon Europe, the newly institutionalized missions and the partnerships, and of course the ecosystem itself is always growing and evolving. So of course, with the new program, the new initiatives, and the new knowledge always being formed, these pose great challenges for the NCPs and the main goals for the Care4Bio project. So what we focus on is mutual learning and capacity building for Cluster 6 NCPs through exchanges of good practices, trainings, network meetings, and of course, mentoring activities. Our ultimate goal is to improve NCP performance in this thematic area. For this, we also collaborate, apart from the European Commission, of course, we also collaborate with the Enterprise Europe Network and other key stakeholders. So you see our consortium here. We are 26 partners, and we work in 5 different work packages to implement our activities. So it's a coordination support action of almost 3.5 million euros and a duration of 67 months You can find more information in our website, careforbio.eu. And of course, our social media. We are active on LinkedIn, Twitter, and of course, YouTube, which you can see today in our live broadcast. So thank you very much and enjoy today's session.
Thank you very much, Despina, for this brief presentation about Care for Bio, but it's very important for all the potential applicants to give you more details about the services that the network is going to produce for all the audience and all the R&I communities in Europe interested in Cluster 6. Now, let's go straight to the multi-actor approach. So now it's time for our virtual stage for Natalia Brezina. I'm sorry, Natalia, for not pronouncing well your surname. Natalia, it's from DG Agri, and it's very important is a speech because she's going to introduce the multi-actor approach inside the concept of the ACIS, so the agricultural knowledge and innovation system. So Natalia is going to define what is the multi-actor approach in Cluster 6 and the requirements foreseen. Thank you very much for your participation, and the stage is yours. Thank you, Natalia. Natalia, can you hear me? I see your face a bit freezing.
Thank you very much. I hope you hear me well.
Not properly. There is some scratch in the microphone.
Okay. Do you hear me well, and do you see the slides?
Yes, little bit well.
Yes.
Maybe if you can switch off the camera, maybe it's better for the connection.
Okay. I will try 1 second, or maybe I.
Now it's better, Natalia.
1 second.
And
Yes.
just if you can speak a bit loud.
Louder. Okay.
Yes.
So I will try to speak louder. Do you hear me better now?
Yes, better. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much for the invitation. So I would like to present to you the multi-actor approach. My name is Natalia Brezina, and I work in the European Commission in DG Agri in the Research and Innovation Unit. So farmers are facing everyday challenges, but also there are many opportunities related to the big environmental, climate, but also socio-economic challenges. So on one side, we have, for example, climate change, biodiversity loss, and on the other side, we have also the geopolitical tensions that also are putting pressures on the market. And they bring many different challenges to the farmers that every day produce for us food, but also they are bringing also opportunities that they can use to actually improve the performance, the sustainability performance of the farms. But actually to be able to tackle the challenges and seize the opportunities, we need to have the right policy environment, and on top of that also, of course, research and innovation. And we have the policy environment. In 2019, the Commission has announced the European Green Deal, a communication about the new green growth strategy. And following the European Green Deal, there are many different strategies that actually concern farmers and that pose to them many challenges, but also opportunities. The most important is the farm to fork strategy, but also the biodiversity strategy, the climate law, the soil strategy, and the long-term vision for rural areas are very important for the agriculture, forestry, and rural areas in Europe. And these policies and strategies are actually setting ambitious targets for farmers, for foresters, and for rural communities. For example, to reduce the use of pesticides by 50%, or to increase the share of agricultural land managed in an organic way to 25%. So these are quite ambitious targets that have to be achieved, and these targets have to be achieved by 2030. It means that we do not have much time. We have just 7 years, 7 growing seasons to address them. And research and innovation is key to speed up the transition. in line with all the EU strategies and policy priorities. And it is really time now to step up and speed up the efforts when it comes to research and innovation. Therefore, knowledge exchange, innovation, and digitalization are the cross-cutting objective of the Common Agriculture Policy. And it is implemented by strengthening the agriculture, knowledge, and innovation systems that on one side have to produce new knowledge and innovations, but on the other side, these innovations and this new knowledge produced has to be used. So what is actually an effective agriculture knowledge and innovation system? A definition is here on the slide. So the ACIS is the organization and interaction of people and institutions, all of them, who use and produce knowledge and innovation for agriculture and interrelated fields. And who is actually involved in ACIS are the main players of ACIS, are farmers, foresters, advisors, researchers, different organizations, including farmers' organizations, NGOs, networks, retailers, media. So really all kinds of people who produce and use knowledge and innovation in agriculture and interrelated fields are involved in ACIS. And why do we need an effective ACIS? Because an effective ACIS will bring actors together on a structured and regular basis, creating continuous interactions and bridging the gap between science and practice and speeding up the knowledge flows, innovation, and most important, implementation of all of these in practice. I would like to invite you to have a look at this video with the infographics that really nicely and clearly in pictures explain what is ACIS and how to build an effective ACIS. And in terms of producing knowledge, following the EU policy priorities, we had developed a strategic approach to EU agriculture research and innovation, and we have translated this into concrete R&I priorities included in the strategic plan of Horizon Europe for 2021-2024. And of course, we have also dedicated appropriate resources. So under Horizon, the resources from Horizon 2020 to Horizon Europe invested in research and innovation for agriculture, forestry, and rural areas almost doubled. So there is quite an impressive investment in research and innovation ongoing. And as a result, we are producing new knowledge and solutions throughout a lot of research and innovation projects, including also multi-actor projects. And I invite you to have a look into agri-research fact sheets. There are 15 of them that are published on the website of the agri-research conference that we had this year between May and June. And these are also the priority 15 R&I areas in which we invest. These fact sheets have an overview of the most recent, I would say, research and innovation projects that are now ongoing. So having said that, there are also, of course, further funding opportunities. Now the call for 2024 is open, and I invite you to have a look at the brochure from the EUCAP network that summarizes all the different calls related to agriculture, forestry, and rural areas, but also to the whole work program of Horizon Europe that has that includes all topics that relate to the fields related to Cluster 6. And the deadline is end of February. But producing knowledge is one thing. And as I said, ACIS is also about using this knowledge. And as Thomas Edison said, the value of an idea, and I would say here also the innovative idea, lies in the using of it. And this is what we would like to do. That to support that this knowledge and innovations that are produced are actually used on the ground in practice. And the linear innovation model, where we have researchers producing knowledge and then publishing, and it falls onto the library shelves, and then it might or might not get into the hands of the practitioners, is not very effective and quite slow in making the use of knowledge and innovation. So since 10 years, we are fostering so-called interactive innovation model, and we implement it through multi-actor approach. And as our commissioner said also, we do not only do research innovation for practitioners, but we do research innovation with practitioners. And we put the practitioners at the center of research and innovation activities all over the course of the project. So from the very beginning, when the concept and the idea is emerging, to the very end when you disseminate and communicate results. In this way, the practical expertise of the practitioners is used to co-create innovative solutions. It makes them co-owner of the results. They implement them in practice, and they share them in peer-to-peer meetings. In this way, we can achieve much quicker and bigger in practice. And this multi-actor approach is applied to both the EIP agri-operational groups. These are innovation projects at local level that are funded under Common Agriculture Policy. But here we meet for the Horizon project. So in Horizon, we have science-only projects, but also multi-actor projects at EU level. And in a nutshell, in Horizon, the use of multi-actor approach is quite extensive, because now we have more than half of the projects that are actually implemented are multi-actor projects. And in the call 2024, 56% of the topics require the for the applicants to take the multi-actor approach. And the definition and requirements are included in the introduction to the work program on pages 21-23, and they encompass 7 key requirements, plus additional 2 related to practice abstracts that have to be developed in the areas related to agriculture, forestry, and rural areas, and also the recommendation to involve the EIP agri-operational groups in the multi-actor project. And what is also important is that a multi-actor approach is an eligibility criterion. And here I also pointed out 2 projects, Liaison from Horizon 2020 and now a new premiere that is actually helping to successfully implement the multi-actor approach. And I invite you to have a look at these 2 projects for more information and for support to implement it successfully. But coming back to the eligibility criteria, by introducing a multi-actor approach as an eligibility criteria, we made it much more explicit which actually topics are requiring this. So when you, for example, here, when you go to the work program, to the topic, let's say, new, healthy, and sustainable food products and processes, in the eligibility conditions, here, you have an explicitly a sentence included that the following additional eligibility criteria apply. The proposal must apply multi-actor approach. See the definition of the multi-actor approach in the introduction to the work program part. And if you find this sentence in the table with the conditions, with the specific conditions, it means that this, the introduction, must apply also to this particular topic. And when you go to the brochure from the EU CAP network about the funding opportunities, we have also put here next to the topics that require multi-actor approach, this small sign saying MAA. It means multi-actor approach applies to this one, to also facilitate for you to identify which topics actually apply it. So now the definition. The multi-actor approach is a form of responsible research innovation that aims to make research innovation process and its outcomes more reliable, demand-driven, shared, and relevant to society. It also aims to have these outcomes shared more extensively. This entails that more than just widely disseminating the project's results or listening to the views of a board of stakeholders. A multi-actor approach ensures actually that there is a genuine and sufficient involvement of targeted array of actors which serve the objective of the topic. And what are actually these actors that can be involved? So these are, of course, researchers, advisors, citizens, but also the more, I would say, practitioners, so farmers groups or associations, or foresters groups and their associations, fishers and their associations, or aquaculture producers, It could be also government practices, if government representatives if needed, civil society organizations, including NGOs, but also food businesses, bioeconomy businesses, and all kinds of other businesses that are important to achieve the objectives, consumer association or local communities. Now, what is very important is that we do not require that all of these actors have to be included in all the projects. You have to make a wise choice of all the relevant actors that are important to achieve the objective of the project and speed up the innovation and its uptake on the ground in practice. So which actors are relevant to participate depends on the objective of the proposal. And they are essentially the end users of the project results, who are backed up by any other useful intermediaries and actors who can contribute with further expertise and innovative ideas that are relevant to the topic's objectives and support communication and dissemination. And then the genuine and sufficient involvement of such actors should take place all over the whole course of the project. So really from initiating, through planning, through execution, and closing. So at each of the stage, all the different actors should be included in the project. And now the building blocks for the project proposal are expected to come from science, but also from practice. It is a co-creation process. And practitioners or end users are to be involved not as study objects, but you have to use their practical knowledge and their entrepreneurial skills to develop solutions and create results that are actually used by the end users, and that they feel that they feel the co-ownership of these results. This will contribute to and speed up the acceptability and uptake of new ideas, approaches, and solutions developed in the project. And what are then the 7 key requirements? So proposals submitted for topics which require multi-actor approach must actually apply all these requirements. So it must demonstrate how the proposed objectives and planning are targeting the needs, problems, challenges of and opportunities for the end users of the project results. It must also demonstrate how the description of the project concept, and in particular also the composition of the consortium, reflects a balanced choice of relevant actors who have complementary types of knowledge that can ensure that the results will be really useful for practice and broadly implemented. Then it must also demonstrate how the project intends to use the existing practices and tacit knowledge. This should be illustrated in the proposal with a sufficient number of high-quality knowledge exchanges between the different actors, outlining the precise and active roles of the different, also non-scientific actors in their work. And the cross-fertilization of skills, competencies, and ideas between the actors should generate innovative findings and solutions that are more likely to be applied on a wide scale. This proposal must also demonstrate how the project will facilitate the multi-actor engagement process by making use of the most appropriate methods and expertise. In addition, it must demonstrate the project added value, so how it will actually complement what is already out there in research and innovation world. It must also demonstrate how the project will result in practical and ready-to-use knowledge, approaches, tools, and products that are easily understandable and freely accessible. And it must also demonstrate how these outputs, ready for practice, will fit actually into the existing dissemination channels that are mostly consulted and used by the end users of the project results in the different countries and regions. And as I said, there are additional requirements for topics that relate to the areas of agriculture, forestry, and rural areas. And one of this is that the knowledge that is produced must be summarized in an appropriate number of practice abstracts in the common EIP Agri format. And for areas falling outside the remit of EIP Agri and CAP specific objectives, Other similar effective solutions for ensuring dissemination at EU level should be sought. And then, where applicable, it is also strongly recommended that interactive innovation groups, such as the EIP Agri operational groups funded under the previous Rural Development Programme and now the CAP strategic plans, become involved in this project. And now I would like to just say a few words, what do we mean by the practice abstracts? So to feed into the databases that are developed now by the EU CAP network, and that was previously also on the website of EIP Agri, but we are working now on a new updated format that will be published soon, and thereby also ensure EU-wide communication. The knowledge and innovation projects should be summarized in a number of practice abstracts in the common EIP gap between science and practice, and address the following main objectives. So to disseminate the results of the project in a concise and easily understandable way to practitioners, to foster knowledge flows and share the results of the projects among the practitioners, to facilitate the development of project proposals with added value, so avoiding also the duplication and ongoing and completed projects, and to facilitate networking by enabling contacts between the project partners and practitioners, and to better respond also to the needs, to the real needs of the practitioners. What they are exactly, I would say in just few words, these are short summary for practitioners on the main findings of the project. So how basically the challenges or opportunities can be solved or seized. And this short summary at minimum should include information about the project with contact details to facilitate basically the networking. Then the main results or outcomes of the project activity that are related to what new knowledge or innovative solutions have been developed that solve the challenges or the opportunities for the end users. And then the main practical implications recommendations. So how can the practitioners make use of the results outcomes in practice? What would be the main cost benefits to the end users if the generated new knowledge is implemented, etc., etc. So all kinds of practical implications. And this summary should be as interesting as possible for farmers, foresters, and other end users using a direct and easy understandable language. So this is really important that the language is really understandable. Now, until the quarter 2, I would say, of 2024, we will continue using the Excel file for the EIP Agri common format that is on the old, I would say, EIP Agri website. And then since the second quarter for 2024, we are now working on a new web-based tool to introduce the practice abstracts on the directly on the EU CAP network that will then feed into the database on the EU CAP network. But concrete dates we will communicate when the web-based tool is ready to use by you. So we will ensure really wide communication that this information will get to you in due time. So in practice, in I would say more pictures, how to build a successful Horizon multi-actor project. First of all, target real needs, problems, or opportunities that are out there expressed by the end users. So really, first talk to them. What are the problems? What are the challenges? Or what are the opportunities that they would like to use? Then choose the consortium partners with complementary type of knowledge and skills to actually help them address the problems or seize the opportunities, including also farmers, foresters, and other end users to benefit from their entrepreneurial skills, but also the local tacit knowledge and the practical knowledge that they have. Involve also multipliers, so people who can bring in practical knowledge and help disseminate the results in the long term. And set up a plan with a clear role for everyone in the consortium, for every single partner that is involved, an actor. And organize knowledge exchange activities regularly in a structured way between the different partners. Also, bridge the gap between research and practice by facilitating the discussions between the scientists, and the end users, and involve interactive innovational groups whenever it is possible or relevant, such as the EIP Agri operational groups. And all partners must co-create and co-decide throughout the whole project. So really involve the partners throughout the whole course of the project. And then illustrate how the project complements existing research and best practices, produce practical information which fits into the most commonly used dissemination channels, and write easily understandable practice abstracts in the EU in the EIP common format. So an inspiring example, I would say, of projects, there are many successful multi-actor projects, but I would say an example that I have in mind is the RELAX project that was working on developing and facilitating the adoption of cost-efficient and environmentally safe tools and technologies to phase out the dependency on and use of inputs considered contentious in organic farming system. And the project was actually developed by involving all relevant actors from research, farming, advisory services, industry, from the very start of the project. In total, it had 15 partners and 14 linked parties. And the partners were 11 research organizations, 1 dissemination partner, and 3 small and medium enterprises. And on top of that, the linked partners were 11 really farmer organizations and farmers. So it was really a success. More of these successful projects you can find at the website of the project liaison. And also, they are not only from Horizon multi-actor projects, but they are also examples of projects that employ multi-actor approach in a very successful way, even that the requirements are not there, from example, Interreg or live programs. So really have a look for inspiration there. And of course, on these 2 websites, as I said, from Liaison and Premier, you can find even more information and helpful materials for you to prepare a successful multi-actor project. Then also a new, or I would say updated Horizon, there are portal on the EUCAP network website. You can also find information about the multi-actor projects, the thematic networks, advisory networks, and the soil mission, and I invite you to have a look there. And for even more inspiration, I have put several links to brochure, but also to a previous PowerPoint, and to tips and tricks how to apply for Horizon Europe calls that are still relevant, and I invite you to check it out. And in conclusion, once again, I would like to highlight that the definition and the requirements related to multi-actor approach are the most important, basically, for you to have a look, and they are in the introduction to the work program of cluster 6 on page 21-23, and that multi-actor approach is an eligibility criteria, so it is easy basically to see which topics require it, but it is also very important because without proper multi-actor approach, it will be not evaluated if it is not in the proposal. So with this, I would like to wish you good luck with preparation of the proposals. We wait for them, and I'm very happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Natalia, for this very comprehensive and complete presentation about the multi-actor approach definition and requirements. We received several questions, so I asked to Manuela to put on the screen a slide now, so we can start to show to Natalia the different questions that our participant posed to her during the presentation. So the first one is about how would you recommend to reimburse the multi-actors for their involvement under Horizon Europe in agreement with the grant agreement. You cannot grant all beneficiary status, so it is a common question that also usually we received as national contact points.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. And indeed, I would say that there are different forms how you can do it by contracting or subcontracting, for example. But I would say that it is important also to treat the actors on an equal basis as partners in the consortium. So it will be good to have them as, I would say, beneficiaries. But if it is not possible, then I would say to use subcontracting, for example, or contracting in reimbursing them for being involved.
Thank you, Natalia. I think that also the second question is very close to the first one. In this case, the users say that it is difficult to involve a practitioner as a beneficiary in a project. The administrative burden is not manageable, for example, for farmers. What is your advice for them?
I would say that we are trying to reduce this by, for example, introducing the lump sums type of, I would say, projects to reduce the administrative burden. But as I said, that you can find different ways to involve them in the consortium without them to be, let's say, a partner and beneficiary, the direct beneficiary. So basically, I would say that you can, for example, subcontract them or basically, reward them with for the cost incurred that they have by involving them indirectly in the consortium. And there are also different types of partners that project partners possible, and then consider which one of them could be best, basically, for this for a farmer, for example, to be involved in the project.
Thank you. The next one is about how can one practically involve the AP Agri operational group or the CAP. Are there specific contacts one could interact with?
There will be a presentation from PACOM, from the EU CAP network, that will also speak how to practically involve the EIP Agri operational groups. But just to tell very quickly here is that there is on the website Excel file. We are working on a new database, I would say, with the EIP Agri operational groups. But there is now an Excel file with contacts to the EIP Agri operational group, so you can have a look in the Excel file for the contact details there. And then to involve them in a practical way, I would say that EIP Agri operational groups as such are not legal entities, so you cannot involve as such the EIP Agri operational group, but the leader of the group is usually either a consortium or a university or a... But I will invite you for the presentation from PACOM, because he will really give you more details how to do it in practice.
Thank you. The other question is about if there is in Cordis a filter project belonging to calls requesting the application of multi-actor approach as eligibility conditions.
I would say that I do not recall whether there is a filter directly, but what you can do is to open a PDF file with the of the class 6 program, and basically find by saying multi-actor approach, or even the whole sentence that I have showed on you to you on my slide, because this sentence is actually used in every single topic in the same way that applies multi-actor approach. So this will help you identify those that are applying multi-actor approach.
Yes, thank you, Natalia. And if I may, also in the presentation made by the European Commission during the European Info Day, you can find the different presentation of the topic, and in the specific requirement columns, you will find the multi-actor approach code in case the topic is under this approach. There is another question about the practical abstract. And so practical abstract used to be uploaded to the AP-Agri website. Should they now be uploaded to the EUCAP Network's website instead? If I don't wrong, also Pacomo will take care of that, Natalia, but if you would like to say something, please.
Yes, I would like to say something because so as I have showed in the presentation, until we communicate in 2024, so I would say end of March or April, as we estimate the date, you still use the old way how we used to upload the EIP Agri practice abstract. So basically you go to the old website of EIP Agri, you use the Excel file, and that is out there, fill it in and submit to us by sending to the email that is given in the common format. And then once we are now working in the background, I would say on, let's say, refresh database with the projects, but also refresh a new database that contain all the practice abstracts. And in addition to the database, we will develop web-based tool that is actually translating the Excel file into a really easy web-based tool into the and then once we communicate to you, we will move to the new EUCAP network website with the web-based tool and with the database.
Okay, thank you. Another question. The definition and condition are clear for the agri-food topics, but what about the application of the multi-actor approach in those topics from other areas?
I would say that the definition and the requirements are actually now applying to all the different areas of cluster 6. And when you read the requirements at the beginning of the work program, it's really open. It's not that, as I said, like we are having, for example, a much broader list of actors that can be involved in multi-actor approach. And as I said, that how you should read this is not that you have to involve always farmers or always foresters or rural communities. It is about really selecting those that are relevant. So for example, if you have a topic in the area of bioeconomy, and it is important to achieve the objectives of the business, you have to approach at the beginning as applying to all the different areas and really trying to translate this into the context and the objectives of the topic itself.
Thank you. And another question is about, could you please give a rough estimation of what a sufficient number of practical abstract is?
I would say in terms of sufficient number is basically, I do not want that you create, I don't know, 100 practice abstracts, but of a very low quality, and that actually there is not a real new knowledge or innovation behind. So for me, sufficient number is the number that really is of high quality and presenting provide for the practitioners to be used, or concrete innovative solutions developed by the project that really can help the practitioners solve the problems that they have on the ground or seize the opportunities that they face there. And I would say the sufficient number, it depends really on the project, on its objectives, on the problems that you address and that are expressed, and the needs that are expressed by the end users. And I would not give a really concrete number, but for me, it is important that these practice abstracts the number should reflect how many innovations, how much new knowledge you will provide to the practitioners in real terms, I would say, not just describing, whatever for the sake of having 100 practice abstracts. So it's better to have, I don't know, 10 or 20, but really of high quality than to have hundreds of no use, actually.
Thank you, Natalia. We have several questions. I think that we can take another 3-4 questions. Otherwise, we will out with the timing of the training. Let's do the question based on the preference of the user. So there is this one about why does the European Commission don't use the cascading grants more often in the multi-actor topic? Wouldn't this be a good way to involve stakeholders? It's a question. It's also different, the approach of the cascading grants. But this is my opinion, Natalia. I don't know if you would like to say something.
I would say that yes, of course. Yes, I would like to say something about this. We would like, as I said in the definition and the requirement, to involve the actors from the very beginning to the very end of the project. So really developing already the idea, the needs that should be addressed by the project. And if we use the financial support to third parties, it means that then the proposal is written basically by a consortium, not necessarily involving those actors that should be, I would say, from the very beginning. And only then, once the project is selected and implemented on the ground, you can then use the financial support to third parties by developing the calls for example, involving the third parties along the project. But what is for us important is that you do not do this like at the end or in the middle of the project. For us, it is important to involve actors from the beginning to the end. And that's why this instrument is not very, I would say, suitable for this type of topics.
Thank you, Natalia. And if I may, I think that the third question in this screen, it's also going to be replied by you now, because the users say, is it okay to include an end user as a partner in the Horizon Europe proposal if there is not specific task that they can do within the project other than provide feedbacks? But I think that it's out of the multi-actor approach, as Natalia explained till now. I don't know if you would like to add something on that, Natalia, because it's a line on your previous reply.
Yes, I would say that if you read the definition of the multi-actor approach, we do not want the end users only to provide feedback. You have to really sit together with them on equal level, I would say, and discuss first, like, what are the needs. Then once you discuss the needs, then you also consider with them the different innovations. You put their practical knowledge together with the scientific knowledge, and you develop basically the knowledge together. You develop the innovations together. So involving them only to provide feedback, I would say it's not a multi-actor approach for me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. There is another question that I think that it's very important, because the multi-actor approach is not only in Cluster 6, but is also part of the EU mission approach, especially for the emission soil. So the question is, what is the link of multi-actor approach with living lab approach?
Yes, I would say that multi-actor approach is part of the living lab approach. It's a requirement basically that applies also to the living lab approach. But with the living lab approach, we are getting a step further basically, because we would like also to link the innovations and the knowledge that is produced to the place where people live and work. And so basically this is also adding to the living lab the dimension, to the multi-actor approach, the dimension of the place-based innovation in a specific site and conditions and context, applied in a specific site and conditions and context.
Thank you, Natalia. Another question, maybe it will be the last. There is a lot of confusion in the users between the stakeholder engagement and the multi-actor approach. So there is this question that say that many projects are using a multi-actor platform to enhance their stakeholder engagement. It is a multi-actor platform the same as the multi-actor approach?
I would say that multi-actor approach has, I would say, one definition that you have at the introduction to the work program. Now, the multi-actor platforms is, I would say, a method or a way how the different projects try to involve the different actors. But stakeholder engagement as such is not for me a full multi-actor approach. Basically, if you just, for example, design a stakeholder board that you consult throughout the project, it's not the same as really working together with the practitioners on equal basis throughout the whole course of the project. But then it really depends from project to project, because the multi-actor platforms, as they name it, can be in a really different format applied in the projects. So they can also be a way to implement multi-actor approach. It really depends on the project. But I would say that the sole definition that we use and the sole, I would say, term is multi-actor approach.
Thank you, Natalia. Just the last one, that is this one about how could we actually implement the participatory approach since very beginning in proposal preparation. Usually any funding is available, which often is needed.
Yes, thank you very much for this. I'm actually receiving quite a lot this comment. I would say that basically you have to find some different inventive ways how to involve the actors from the very beginning. I know that there are proposals written in multi-actor way from the very beginning, so it is possible. Also, I would say to outreach to the premier projects, because they have different tools that can help you with drafting such proposals from the very beginning. For example, Mumming Game. So I invite you to also outreach to them.
Thank you. Thank you, Natalia. So I would like to stop this. Yeah, thank you. I have some problems with the audio with you, but we understand what you say. That thank you very much for your availability in this Q&A session that it's very long. I have other questions, but probably also the speakers that will came after Natalia can help us to reply. So I asked to our participant to be patient on that, but I'm sure that also Astrid at PACOM will reply to some of your questions. Natalia, so thank you very much for your presentation and also for for the reply that you give to our audience. And I'm sure that we are going to cooperate more inside Care4Bio, because the multi-actor approach, it's a very important topic of interest for our R&I community in Cluster 6. So thank you very much again for your participation. And now I would like to pass the floor to Astrid Guffer, that is from REA, the research agency of the European Commission. And Astrid is going to give us some details about the multi-actor approach in the preparation of the proposal. So during the writing of the proposal in excellence, impact, and implementation session, and in the evaluation proposal. Astrid will give us also some suggestion about do's and don'ts inside the proposal phase. So Astrid, thank you very much for being here together with us. Now the floor is yours, and I suppose that a lot of questions will also come to you during your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Serena. Good morning to all. So my name is Astrid Giffard. I work in the European Research Executive Agency in Brussels, and I'm the project officer. Actually, I'm the project officer at Care for Bio, and also the Premier project, which will be presented later. So thank you very much for inviting me to share some experience in the evaluation of the multi-actor approach in horizon calls. So actually, I have already delivered this presentation on the evaluation on the multi-actor approach in the EU CAP Network brokerage event organized by DG Agri in October. But then I was invited by the national contact points to reiterate the exercise and to have an exchange with them on this process. So I will show you some of my slides. So indeed, I will share with you the process we go through when evaluating a proposal. So the key information to prepare the evaluation is to focus on the topic text that is provided in the Horizon Europe work program. We recommend checking the text in the PDF version so you can see very well the structure of the topic descriptions and all the necessary elements to be included in your proposals. So for multi-actor approach topics, you need to consider the definition that was presented by Natalia, and it is on page 21 to 23 of the work program. So indeed, now in Horizon Europe, it's an eligibility criterion and an integral part of the topic text. So regarding the evaluation documents at hand for evaluators, they need to use the standard evaluation forms on the portal. So indeed, using the appropriate criterion depending on the type of action, whether it is a coordination and support action, an innovation action, or a research innovation action. Then indeed, you have the topic text that is available on the funding internals portal and also on the work program online version. So just to explain you on the structure of a typical topic text, you have the expected impact and expected outcomes presented at the beginning of the text, and these aspects will be evaluated under the impact criterion. And then in the scope, the topic description describes the range of activities expected from the proposal, and this is covering the excellence criterion. Also, important aspects to be considered is the applicable requirements. So in our case, is a multi-actor approach, can be also specific duration or specific aspects to be considered, like maybe clustering of projects and so on. And indeed, the proposal template provides information on what's need to be explained in each part, each section of the proposal. And this is also some interesting, useful information that we use for evaluators to understand the process yourself, the applicants are going through when preparing a proposal. So in these proposal templates, you have some guidance and useful links that can be considered for preparing a proposal. So this is a slide presenting the standard evaluation process. We are starting from the receipt of proposal when the call is ending. We are proceeding with the admissibility and eligibility checks based on the topic requirements, and then we allocate the proposal to evaluators. You have a link here to the standard briefing for Horizon Europe proposal evaluation, where you can see all the guidance that is provided to evaluators, and it is a very useful reading for you. Once we have made sure that no conflict of interest is detected by us or by the evaluators, they have to start evaluating individually the proposal. So they don't know each other, they work separately on their assessment. A minimum of 3 experts is required for each proposal. And of course, we do a quality check on this first draft, and then a consensus wording is worked on remotely by a rapporteur. Try to find a common wording for all the elements identified by experts, and then we have a meeting to discuss each criterion, each aspect, each proposal, to make sure that there is a common understanding and a common position for each aspect evaluated. When all proposals are evaluated, so when there is a consensus on all proposal, we organize a panel review meeting where experts have to to confirm the scoring and the comments for all the proposal, checking consistency across the evaluation, and then they agree on the ranking of the proposal, and they also consider equal scoring, so ex aequo, and based on the general annexes, so on the legal basis, we have to do this exercise. And when the panel review meeting is finalized, we finalize the results of the evaluation, and we perform the final ranking list. So these are the evaluation criteria we are considering, so excellence, impact, and implementation. I'm going to quickly go through them, considering the multi-actor approach aspect, but of course, what's very important is the topic description, what is expected, and we evaluate these aspects. So to the extent that the proposal follow the scope of the topic. If you have a look at the info day we organized in September, you will have more information on the key to success on the full process of evaluation. This is more a focus on the multi-actor approach. So under excellence, we have a first sub-criterion that is regarding the clarity and the pertinence of the objectives, of course, towards the topic description. So in the multi-actor approach, there is an emphasis on assessing the needs and opportunities for end users. So indeed, this aspect is considered in this sub-criterion. Then we have the soundness of the proposed methodology. Whether the proposal ensure and demonstrate this genuine and sufficient involvement of relevant actors all over the project duration. So this is the methodological aspects of the proposal excellence. And so this is very important to consider. So this is a very central part of the multi-actor approach evaluation, because the topic has put the necessary condition. Having the multi-actor is the condition to achieve the objective of the topic. So indeed, the excellence is like determining the scope of the proposal and the main framework, that is the framing of the issue, the framing of the objective, the framing of the approach, the methodology, and so on. So this is a very central part of the evaluation. And then regarding impact, in the topic description, you see the list of expected outcomes. So each of them has to be explained, the contribution of the proposal, and of course there is also one expected impact at the destination level that is relevant for this topic. And the proposal needs to provide details on the contribution it offers for each of these aspects. So in terms of scale, of measurements and significance, and also consider potential barrier to achieve these expected outcomes. So really provide a realistic view of what the project results can contribute to achieve these expectations from the topic. And in the second aspect of the impact, we have the communication, dissemination, and exploitation. There, in this criterion, we also consider the multi-actor approach, in the fact that the proposal is using the relevant channels and the relevant tools and approaches to ensure this engagement of users throughout the project implementation. In terms of implementation, we have again two sub-criterion, one on the work plan, where we assess the organization of the work. So the different work packages, the different tasks, the effort, the budget allocated to the different activities. And in this, we need to see what is the involvement of different actors, what has been explained under excellence, how this is translated in practical terms, what is the coherence with what has been presented in the excellence part of the proposal. And there we see in the details of the planning of the tasks and the activities whether this multi-actor approach has been fulfilled. And in terms of capacity and role of each participants, then we also have this element of the multi-actor approach, that the composition of the consortium needs to be a balanced choice of relevant key actors that are needed to achieve the objective of the topic. So we have participated in a number of events that can be of interest to you. In the brokerage event I was mentioning earlier, we have had discussions with national contact points and coordinator from the multi-actor approach perspective. And they have shared experience, and they have also delivered a very useful presentation, even one with an example of a practice abstract. So have a look at this website and see examples. You can get inspiration from past experiences, past projects. Of course, we organized an info day on the work program 2024, and we had a session on the key to success. So there you can see the presentation and the video of this event. Also, the multi-actor approach has been considered in the Agri Research Conference in May this year. There was a breakout session on tools and skills. There you can also have a look at the presentation and the discussion. And also our agency, we are organizing also Coordinators Day to facilitate the exchange of best practices among coordinators. And also you can have a look at these resources, and always regularly check the funding entrance portal, because the Commission organizes regularly Horizon implementation days, where you also have guidance on practical aspects of proposal preparation, grant management. So there are many webinars organized centrally that can help you to see what are the relevant elements you need to consider for your proposal. And now I'm going to show you some inspiring example from Horizon 2020, because in a nutshell, I mean, the multi-actor approach has been expanded also to beyond agriculture to other areas, and there are very different ways of implementing depending on the topic, depending on the thematic coverage, depending on the considered actors. So with this example, maybe you can see maybe how in practice it can be done. So there is a live seed project that has been launched in 2017 with 48 organizations from 18 countries, gathering researchers, breeders, producers, and organizations. And this project has delivered high quality results, have been very useful to inform the regulatory process on organic seeds. So the engagement of organic farmers have really led to very practical evidence that has been shared also on the Organic Farm Knowledge platform. And so there has been a high interest from the Commission the Directorate Generals. So this is really a way that how this excellent research supported by these practitioners' involvement can deliver high quality results. So you also have the link on the Cordis page. And another project, which is not directly in the agricultural sector, is a food safety for EU project that has had its final conference last week in Brussels. And the aim of the objective was to develop a multi-stakeholder platform to discuss and prepare for the future of European food safety system. And so what is interesting in this project is that they have organized co-creation processes with different actors, scientists, policymakers, and societal actors by the development of food safety operational labs on 4 topics. And they use participatory methodologies based on social innovation that have been really tailored to their communities, their specific scientific area. And you can also have a look at the website where you can see the experience has been gained with this project. This project has started during the COVID period, so the interaction has taken place online. They have developed a digital platform to engage the stakeholders. But talking about platform, there are really many different ways to do this, but I would say that the co-creations need to be organized in a structured way. And also in the final conference of this project, they share the learnings of this exercise, and they emphasize the importance of facilitation. So there are methodologies to organize multi-actor interactions between different organization partners, and it's good to learn from existing projects, from past experiences, and what has been done in your area, so just to be inspired. Also to inform you that we are committed to your success for all the projects in Cluster 6. So you can use the Twitter accounts we have for Cluster 6, which is EU Green Research, to promote your projects. You can follow us on the social media. You can subscribe to our newsletter, follow guidance, advice we are providing on our website. And indeed, we are connected to the Horizon Europe community, DG Research and Innovation, DG Agri, Horizon Magazine, Horizon Europe website, European Innovation Council and Research Council. So you can take benefits from this huge community of practitioners in this area. And the last slide, to invite you to consider registering as an expert, because our platform for evaluators is really open to all actors who are interested in contributing to having an impactful program. So you can evaluate proposal and monitor projects, provided that you have the necessary expertise in the area. So this is the end of my presentation, and of course I'm here to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Astrid, for your presentation. I have several questions now on slide, so I ask Manuela to put on the screen. The first one, I received several questions on the same point, that it's about how the evaluator are teach on the evaluation of the multi-actor approach in the excellence impact implementation. So the floor is yours for this answer.
Yeah, so indeed, proposal evaluation is a very important part of achieving successful multi-actor projects. I would say that when the topic has been drafted, the multi-actor approach has been considered as an essential part, of the topic. So really, there should be a self-evident part of why we need multi-actor, why do we need practitioners' engagement to achieve the objective of the topic. So we select experts based on their scientific expertise to assess the topic. And in my view, any evaluator, any skilled, competent person should be able to assess whether the proposal responds to this requirement. But indeed, we are also working on expert briefing, guidance material, but we use the definition, we use really this existing evidence to train them. Yeah, and also we are performing quality check on individual evaluation reports, consensus reports, so really ensure a harmonized evaluation of this important criterion, like topic requirements. Yeah. I think you're muted, Serena.
Sorry. Thank you, Astrid. And I'm passing to the third question, that it's about when is the fulfillment of the multi-actor approach checked? Already at the eligibility check, who is doing that and in what detail?
So I can explain you how we do the eligibility check. An eligibility check is done to fulfill the conditions of the topic. So normally it's a yes/no exercise, whether you have the specific country that are required or specific like durations, like go yes/no question. For the multi-actor approach, it's impossible to do the eligibility check without going through the evaluation process. So indeed, we need to go through the evaluation process to see if the proposal falls within this multi-actor approach or not.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Astrid, because we have two questions on the same topic. So how the eligibility check is made by the European Commission. So, and now let's pass to the third one, that is about the success case that you presented, the live seed. And the users say 800 organic farmers consulted, but it is again a kind of advisory board. I thought multi-actor approach should go beyond.
Well, I would say that I'm not the project officer of this project, so I'm not an expert in this, but I think that the project is made of different organizations representing the organic sector. And so, of course, not everybody can be involved at any moment. You know, you need to have a structured process to organize these interactions. So at some point, involving organic farmers in the project is also fine. You know, the importance is how you structure your activities, and you make sure that you have this demand-driven innovation. So I would say it's not really I would not see this as an issue, but indeed the multi-actor approach goes beyond this. It's not about consultation. It's really having this relevance to practitioners, to like practice and local actors in having the research responding to their needs.
Thank you. Thank you. Now there is a very interesting question about for the two-stage proposal with blind evaluations, how must the multi-actor approach be referred?
I'm not so experienced in the blind evaluation. Anyway, in the first stage, I understand the proposal is about is evaluated in blind evaluation in the first stage. So in the first stage, you only have information about excellence and the first criterion of impact. A very difficult question. I would say in the first stage evaluation, we don't consider who is doing the work, but like what the work can bring to practitioners and actors in a general terms. So it's not only about who is doing the activities, but it's also what the activities are able to learn from experience, from practice, how the co-creation can be delivered in methodological terms, also how to structure their interaction and so on. So yeah, what are the tools that are put in place to have this engagement, whoever the actors are? I would say I'm not so experienced in this, so unfortunately I cannot give a very detailed reply, but we can further discuss with the national contact point if there is a need to discuss this aspect.
Thank you, Astrid. But I think that your reply is very comprehensive because it's more about the approach, the concept itself, and not about the actors that are doing the approach inside the proposal in the first stage. So I think that your reply it's totally in line with the requests of the users. Now I would like to put in evidence this question. You already reply, you already explain it, but maybe someone needs more details about the evaluator consider the multi-actor approach not only under excellence, but as part of impact and implementation in consistency with the transversality of the multi-actor approach.
Yeah, well, thank you for the question. Maybe I can explain that we cannot have double penalization of a proposal on exactly the same point. So indeed, we usually give an assessment on the multi-actor approach under the excellence because it's really what is determining the proposal activity, the scope, and also the implementation. So then the rest, the impact and the implementation, let's say they derive from this excellence framing of the activities. So, but indeed, the coherence has to be ensured. So, if in excellence some approaches are considered and so on, but we see that there is not really the expertise or the organization of the work is not suitable to deliver on what is promised under excellence, then indeed we can flag this this issue of coherence, and also impact needs to be in line with the multi-actor approach and so on. But I would say the first aspect to be checked is excellence. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I have another question that I would like to put in evidence, and is this one. Just a second. How to include the knowledge exchange activities between partners? What if this is done during proposal preparation but has not been included in the project?
Well, indeed, the knowledge exchange needs to go through all the activities. Of course, in proposal preparation, but also one of the key requirements, one of the 7 requirements, I think, is about how the project intends to use existing practice and tacit knowledge, sufficient high quality knowledge exchange activity outlining the precise and active roles of non-scientific actors in the work. So this exchange has to be really organized throughout the proposal, the project implementation. So indeed, yeah, this is something that you have to consider, that it is demonstrated at proposal level, but also within the task and the activity of the projects. Yeah.
Thank you. And in your experience, is it needed to design a transversal work package for a multi-actor approach, or is it okay to include a dedicated task and identify exchange activities with other tasks?
Well, I would say it really depends on the proposal, but having a separate work package, I would not see it so justified, because I mean the multi-actor approach is a core part of the proposal, so it's essential, so it should be everywhere. But indeed, to have these co-creation activities, this exchange, and so on, it can be done in some tasks. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Astrid. I have other questions, but I would like to pose to Pacom because are more of interest for her about the practical abstract. I have just the last question. If you would like to give some suggestion to the applicants, as the time required to set up properly such participatory approach be taken into consideration in the calls?
Well, no, because I don't see it in the evaluation criterion. So of course, the quality of the proposal will depend on the effort put in the preparation. But this is not an evaluation criterion. This is not something that we can assess. But I would say delivering quality is usually takes time and effort. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Astrid. Thank you very much for your cooperation in this Q&A session. I don't see any question for you. Some of them will be posed to Pacom, and also Susanne will also tell us something about the blind evaluation in her session. So now I think that we can take a short break for 15 minutes just to restore a bit, and then start again with this training. So Astrid, thank you very much for your cooperation. I know, as I said before with Natalia, that will be a strong cooperation with Care4Bio about the multi-actor approach, because there is a strong interest in our R&D communities. Consider that for this training we received more than 800 registrations. So the communities need to be trained about this and to share a lot of doubts and also to clear reply. So it is the first step for us in cooperating about the multi-actor approach, and I thank you again very much for your presentation and your availability in reply to the different questions. So thank you again, Astrid, and 15 minutes break for our community, our audience. We will meet here past 10 past 11. So in 15 minutes for the next part of the training. Thank you very much. Hello and welcome back to the second part of the training about multi-actor approach organized by Care for Bio project, the European networks of Cluster 6 national contact points. I hope that you restore a bit with a coffee or a tea. And now we should continue with the approach, the multi-actor approach, with the presentation made by PAGCOM from the UCAP network, that it's about what applicants need to know from the AP-Agri to write a successful proposal, and where to find and how to involve operational group. We received several questions on this point during the first part of the training, so now PAGCOM will detail better this part in our training. I ask to the technical part of the training, to Emanuela, to put PAGCOM on the screen, because now it's the turn. Hi, hello, PAGCOM. Nice to see you.
Good morning. Yeah.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us in this training. So now it's the part of the UCAP network and the AP-Agri relation inside the multi-actor approach. So now the floor is yours. Please start with your presentation, and then I'm sure that several questions will come to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sabrina. Yes.
Okay, it is not still in presentation mode.
Yeah. But yeah, if I go, is it okay now?
Yes, but you should put in full screen.
But this is my presentation should be in full screen, or
now it's perfect.
No. Yes.
Now we can see it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you once again for inviting. I think part of a lot of questions has been already, some of the topic has been already tackled at the beginning. I will mostly focus on two key points that are where to find operational group and how to involve them. But before we start, I will just give a brief reminder of what is EIP, but also what is the EUCAP network now, because we moved from EIP network to EUCAP network. So first of all, regarding the EUCAP network, as you know, two existing networks were merged in one single one. So the ENID, the European Network for Rural Development, but also the EIP Agri Network. So now the current EUCAP network has, as you can see on the slide, let's say 3 strands. One is the CAP implementation, that is dealing with the CAP strategic plans, and the innovation and knowledge exchange, including EIP, that we do summarize as EIP Agri support under the EIP Agri support facility. And then you have the evaluation with the evaluation help desk. And there is those three strands are also linked with the support facilities. I will say the network support unit, because the contact point that used to be for ENID is still named contact point. The service point is now support facility, but dealing with the same service as in the past. The evaluation help desk didn't change the name, but there is a fourth component, that is the communication and evaluation, communication and event support. That one is a new one that is taking care of all communication related activities in the CAP network, but also the logistics. Now, regarding the support facility for innovation and knowledge exchange, including EIP Agri, that we shortly call EIP Agri Support Facility, or EIP Agri SF. We have first our role as a help desk. So some of the questions related to the multi-actor approach, and a lot of other questions regarding the CAP, and especially innovation in CAP. We are tackling them in the help desk. So all the questions that we do receive, we do respond. There, it is quite important to know that if you ask your question in French, we answer in French. If it is in German, we will answer in German. But if you ask it in English, don't expect an answer in German. So that is one point. And we also have, as usual, networking activities, focus group, workshop, seminars, and that are things that were already in our package. But quite new activities related to AKIS that Natalia also explained at the beginning. There are the cross-visit and the brokerage activities. I think some of the brokerage, one brokerage activity was highly mentioned during the previous presentations. It was the one on the multi-actor approach that we did this year in Antwerp. And then we have also the cross-visit. This is also quite new, where we do gather operational groups and making sure that they do exchange the outcome of their project, and also stimulating further collaboration or transnational collaboration or cross-border collaboration. And we also highly invite them to join multi-actor project at AU level. And then an important tool is the database. In fact, databases, because there are quite a lot of them, but you find them on the website. But also there are different publications. This is something we keep doing. You can go to the new website. I would suggest to go to the AUCAP network website, because the old website is no more functioning. You can only read things there, but you cannot upload anything there. There also, just to clarify something that I mentioned today regarding the practice abstract and the common format for operational group and Horizon project. They are no more available on the old website, but currently on the new website, so the one on the website of the EUCAP network, you have the one for operational group. In principle, normally we should have by now the one for Horizon, so the practical abstract for Horizon. But due to some technical reason, the web developer is not able to display them for the moment. But it is agreed that at least by end of this year, you should have the template available. And also all the practice abstract will be visible at that moment. And then the other communication tools that we had in the past, there is one dedicated newsletter for EIP Agri, but also an AUCAP network newsletter. The one that is dedicated to EIP is focused on innovation and knowledge exchange, and the other one is a general one where we also contribute. In addition, you have the press articles, everything that is related to social media. All the channels that we were using in the past, so the EIP Agri channels, they are no more functional, so we do not publish anything there also. So we are asking stakeholders or followers to move to the new AUCAP social medias. It's the same for the website. And there also, if you have a relevant event that you are organizing and that you want to advertise, or you have anything you like to disseminate, you can get in touch with us. There is a calendar on the calendar that is on the website is gathering all relevant events. But if you have something very specific that you want to communicate on, we can use the newsletter, but also the magazine, because we still have our Agri Innovation magazine, and there is in addition an AUCAP network magazine. So as you see, the innovation and knowledge exchange still have a specific and quite important component in the whole architecture. So now, coming back on EIP, just to give, this is a sort of reminder, because since a while, we have the feeling that some people are considering EIP only as a CAP matter. But this is just to refresh people's memories that when EIP was launched, the idea was indeed to stimulate innovation, improve knowledge exchange. And the key point here was to close the gap between research, innovation, and practice through the interactive innovation model. That was the way with a very key important point, the bottom-up approach. So involving working on the needs of the farmer, foresters, and let's say practitioners. So involving them from the beginning, starting from their needs, and having them as part of the solution, because all those people, they have already part of the solution. So together, building a solution that is also, let's say, quickly implemented by all the parties. I'm blocked. Yes. So, oh no. Yeah. So I think here is an important slide. As I was explaining, in order to speed up innovation, there was important to collaborate with different type of actors. So what we call, what was explained also at the beginning as the multi-actor approach. So you need the relevant expertise, and you need to have relevant partners. You are not obliged to have the full range of partners, but you need to have those who are really important to tackle your challenge or to contribute to solve your problem. It can be farmers, researchers, advisors, or whatever you want, but they should be active in the process. They should be active. This is very important, active in the process. They are not stakeholders. And if you do remember, during the past years, we have not been using the term stakeholders in EIP. We always say actors, because we do make the difference between a stakeholder and actor. You can be stakeholder, being in a board, being in an advisory board or whatever, or group, but not making or taking any actions. So the purpose is to have actors, not stakeholders. And for this purpose, the EIP was implemented then through two different instruments. So you have the operational groups project, and then you have the research projects. Among the research projects, you have the multi-actor approach, the multi-actor project, and also the thematic networks. But today, if we have to make it with the actualization, on one side, you have the CAP with the 9 specific objectives plus the cross-cutting one on innovation and knowledge exchange, where operational groups are active, and that is through the CAP strategic plans. And then through the CAP strategic plans, everything that is linked to operational groups is covered. And on the research part, mainly Horizon programs, you have them, all those multi-actor projects, the thematic networks, and the new advisory networks, and the thematic, the EIP, let's say the EIP thematic, EIP operational group thematic networks. So you have those two components. So on one side, you have the operational group, and the other side, you have the research project, the 4 different research projects. And our role here is to make sure that both are being connected. So the idea, as we say from the beginning, there is a collection of research needs from practice. So meaning mostly farmers, advisors, farmers, foresters, and so on. And that need to be shared with researchers. In all our events, we usually collect research needs. And yearly we do publish a report of research needs collected from the focus group, from the workshop, from the conference. And it happened several times that some other, let's say, actors are sharing with us those research needs. And that report is usually submitted to the colleagues from DG Agri and especially F2. So colleagues for Natalia's colleagues who are further dealing with those research needs. And in the past, you have seen that there were some thematic networks related to some topics that were tackled in a lot of our activities. So this is the reminder that I wanted to make here for you not to forget that EIP is not only CAP. EIP is Horizon and CAP. Even we are now under the EU CAP network, we are still doing what we were doing in the past, but with another novelty. The national CAP networks now are also in charge of the same activities that the EIP Agri Support Facility is dealing with, but at national level, meaning that the national CAP network should also connect with the relevant research, multi-actor project, and so on. There are a lot of them that are already doing this, and we are also fostering the connection between the national CAP networks and the national contact point for Horizon in order to share also this information and better serve the actors. Last week, we had our first event on the National Networking for Innovation, where we invited all the national networks, but also national contact point for Horizon. And there were also some thematic networks that attended that event. And that was the first event in that category. And yearly, next year, we will make again the same event. The title will not change, but the topic will change. This time it was about AKIS, the role of the National CAP Network in AKIS. Next year, the National Networking for Innovation will take place again, but we will change the topic. We will define the topic in collaboration with the National CAP Networks and some other actors. Now, as you see, regarding the research programs and the project there is a strong recommendation on involving operational groups. And it is why I'm here today, and it is where I'll focus the next part of the presentation. Before dealing with that one, we would like to mention to you that for the previous period, from 2014 to 2022, there were 3,200 operational group plans. But when we did in SFC in October, when we checked, we had already about 3,280 projects. But in fact, in reality, we have something like 3,400 or 600, because all the projects are not yet officially reported to the SFC. So the data we are giving here are those projects that are officially reported, because there are member states like Greece who didn't report their project. We also have some from Poland who are not reported, Cyprus, Bulgaria, and some of them. So the number is quite extensive. And therefore, we will be celebrating those operational groups in May during a huge conference that will be organized in May. Very soon, you will see a call for participation to that conference. There will also be a competition, an award ceremony for operational groups. So we will try to award the most innovative one in 5 categories. But you have the full information on this very soon. There is a call that should be published maybe by end of next week, probably. Now, for the new period, 2023-2027, as you can see, the expectations are high. So we move from 3,000 to 6,000 OGs plan. And so there is a lot of work to be done. So therefore, it is important from the beginning now to know how you can find OGs and how you can work with them. I will give some tips, but keep in mind that you can also be creative and innovative at your own level. Now, here you have a short, this is an update from September. What are the topics covered by operational group? You see, there is a huge diversity of topics that they are covering. I will not go to this in detail, but the only thing I would like to mention here is to say that for this new period, the operational groups are covering all the specific objectives of the CAPs. And if you look at those specific objectives, they do correspond to the topics that are covered in the cluster 6. So everything that is in cluster 6, normally you will find it under the CAP also, and especially among the operational group that are now active. Now, key question, where to find operational groups? As I said, I will not send you to the old website, but if you go to the current website, this is a link. This is a link. If you go to the current website, when you click on the current website on the toolbar, you will see practice, project and practice. And if you click on project and practice, you will see a long list of possible sub-pages. And there I will suggest you click on About EIP Agri. If you click on the title About EIP Agri, you will get an Excel file. I don't know if I do like this, I will still be in. Do you still see my screen? Hello? No. So if you click on if you click on About EIP Agri project, you have an Excel file. And it is a huge Excel file where you have all the EIP Agri projects, operational groups, but also Horizon project, thematic networks, multi-actor project, and so on. You can filter then what you want there. And normally in that Excel, you have usually contact detail of the project coordinator. And on the same page, on the project and practice, if you click on operational groups, you then have a link that will direct you to the old operational group database that is on the old EIP Agri website. But there you cannot download anything. You will see the project, you will read, you will have the data, but if you want to contact someone, it means that you have to make it manually. But the Excel file that you have on the About EIP project has all those projects. So you will find the same project on that Excel file. The only difference is that there you do not need to filter the Horizon project. You only have operational group project that will appear. But the issue now is that you cannot download them. If you want to take it, it will be manual. Another point where you can find operational group you have here, I displayed here the link to existing national database for operational group. All of them are not updated, but they are quite actual, I would say, and they are in national languages. So meaning that if you go to the Italian one, normally you have some regions. If you go there, you have the project in Italian. The one on, I don't know, in France, you have them in French. But however, as you are building a consortium, in your consortium, I do imagine that you have some different countries. Maybe they can help with the translation. Those are the two ways and the most important way how you can get OGs. But now, if you do not find the contact details, normally we have the contact details, but before sharing with you the contact detail of the OGs, we will need an authorization from DG Agri because there is a GDPR rule there. But if there is no issue, you can get back to us and then we'll provide the data to you. Now, the second point, how to involve operational groups. As my colleague Natalia said this morning already, most of the operational groups are not legal entities. There are few of them that are legal entities. I will not focus on those because if they are legal entities, it's far more easier to involve them. But then, how to involve them? The first step I would suggest is to establish the list of relevant OGs, operational groups, that are dealing with your specific topic. Then you have to filter, if you go to the database that I just mentioned, you have to filter those who are relevant to you. And then please contact the project coordinator of the OG or an appropriate organization that is member of that OG. And then present your project idea. As we were saying, as other colleagues said before me, you need to involve them from the beginning. You see, when you are starting. So get in touch with them, involve them, present your idea. And in that way, you can have a quicker answer whether they will join, whether there is a partner of the group who will be joining, representing, and so on. And once again, you are not obliged to involve the whole partnership. You are not obliged to involve all the partners of that operational group. So you should be dealing with the most appropriate one. And you also see that in the partnership for operational group, you have a lot of small organizations that are sometimes not able to deal with the requirements at horizon level. Therefore, it would be good to check and look at the most appropriate one. Now, concretely, when you do involve them, you have two options, in fact. Whether you do make one of them, the most relevant one, I'm saying again, partner in your consortium, and you give him a clear and active role. Because when we say strongly involve them, you can well have a partner who is in the list, in the partnership, but without role. That will not be taken into consideration. Because that will be a bit like just fulfilling a condition, but the partner has no role. You have to define his role as partner in the consortium. And he must also clearly describe what is the input or outcome of the operational group that is bringing in the project, and how does it create an added value, a value to the project. The second point is then when you do not, if you are not able to find any appropriate partner in all those operational groups, you can also, one of the points you can also do is to, however, provide the list of all those operational groups that are relevant to your topic, and also describe the activities that you are planning to implement in order to get them involved. There are a lot of I put here 2 key things that are quite easy for me to do. Huh? You can create a board because you have advisory board, you have steering. There are a lot of boards that are being created. You can create one, but however, if you do create one, you should also explain what is the role of that board or that body or group. Also explain clearly how you would be establishing that group and how that group will be working in order to create value to your project and show that they are involved in what you will be doing. A key point again, because in the multi-actor approach, you have, if they have a role, you should also clearly explain what is the budget that is allocated to that group, how many times they will meet or whatever, but you need to give as much as detail as possible, because later on, if you do create a board like that one, and then you need to involve them, because for operational group, once again, you have a lot of farmers there inside, and they do not have the means for travel and accommodation and so on. So that is something that you have to keep in mind. Therefore, a budget for this is important. There is also, instead of creating a group or a board or a body, permanent body, or I don't know what, you can also organize some focus group meetings or workshops, but also some field visits. But once again, you have to explain what are the objectives of those events that you would be organizing for dedicated to them, and what will be the outcome of that of those events, and how it will also contribute to your project and create value to your project. Once again, you should also explain in detail what will be the process in selecting those OGs that will be involved in this, and how all of this will be organized, including, once again, the budget that is linked to that. Those are the key, I think, quite easy ideas that are quite concrete enough for you to take for your project. And then usually there is also a question related to the collaboration with the EUCAP network. But that one, at the time, something that is also clear that I need to clarify here, we do receive a lot of invitation to advisory board of a lot of Horizon projects. Usually we do decline, because it was agreed from the beginning with the Commission that the service we do provide must be the same for all the actors. So if you will be accepting to join one advisory board, we should be doing the same for all other projects. And unfortunately, we don't have the capacity for this. Therefore, we are not joining any advisory board. But if you want to refer to the collaboration with the EUCAP network, especially the EIP Agri Support Facility, you can also identify, you can get in touch with us, and we will be identifying with you some relevant activities that we will be implementing, and activities that can also create value to your proposal or to your activities, or where the outcome can be useful to you. Because in all the thematic events that we're organizing, we usually invite all relevant operational groups that are dealing with that topic. I will give 2 examples. In the near future, we will organize one workshop on pollinators. So all operational group dealing with pollinators issues and so on will be invited. So if you would have a proposal that is going in that direction, you can already take these on board and approach us and see how this can be linked to your event regarding the collaboration and the dissemination of the outcome of your project. We will have another workshop on circular water management. It is the same. So usually I would just suggest to keep to keep posted, to stay in touch with us through the newsletter and through the website to get a bit more in detail what we are planning. And our work program is usually available from June. So by end of June, we have the work program of the full next year. So meaning that as normally you do present your project somewhere in March or February, you do submit your proposal somewhere there. It means that normally from July, we have our work program. You can already have an idea of what we are planning and also take it on board. I think I'll stop here. And if there are any questions, I would be available. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pacom, for this presentation. You put on the stage several content about the multi-actor approach and especially the role of the UCAP network. I have several questions on Slido, but the time is running very fast because we are a bit late now. Emanuela, if you can share the screen for Slido, just very fast reply from your side, Pacom. The first is about will a UCAP network actively facilitate the engagement of the operational group in the multi-actor approach and how? But I think that you explain, especially in the second part of your presentation, better this concept. I don't know if you would like to add something on that.
No. Yes, the only thing I can say is that in all the thematic events that we're organizing, like the two that I mentioned, all operational group will be invited there. And we have, in all of these, we have a brokerage session. We have every time a brokerage session. We call it project market or something else, but the usual name is a brokerage. There is a project market session, where we do re-explain again that the purpose there is to foster further collaboration. So meaning that they can set up their own consortium, as I say, for the EIP thematic or operational group thematic network, or they can also, because the operational groups are not the only invitees in those events, you have some other invitees, and they can still build up consortia for other multi-actor projects and so on. And then we have the dedicated brokerage, standalone brokerage event, like the one we did in Antwerp. Before that one, we did another one last year in January. I think we did another one in January in Sofia. It was focused on the call for advisory networks. And before that one, there was another one on the soil mission. So every year we do organize a brokerage event where we do invite them and encouraging them to join those multi-actor projects.
Okay, thank you. Just another question. It's very curious. Can we involve the UCAP network as a partner in our projects?
No. This is exactly what I was explaining, that we have been invited for advisory board, but we cannot. But feel free to, maybe you can involve one of my partners, because we are a consortium. And I know that some of my partners are in a lot of other Horizon projects.
And there is another question that is about the list of national CAP networks, where to find it. I think that in your website.
Yes, on the website you can find the list of national CAP network. You have this is under the CAP implementation part. Under the CAP implementation part, you have the list of there is a sort of country profile, and you usually have a short description of the national CAP network and the contact there. Thank
you. And one last question. It's quite complex, but let me put as a highlighted question is, what does it mean, new advisory networks? Would you elaborate more? No. I think that it's about the new concept that it's behind the UCAP network.
Yeah. No, as I was explaining, in the past, we have two types of horizon project. Under EIP, we have the multi-actor project, and we have the thematic networks project. Now, as I was mentioning, there are two new categories of research projects that are available under Horizon now. You have the thematic advisory network, You have the past call you have, I think, on organic farming, where indeed the purpose there is to foster the collaboration between advisory services in one specific topic. And I think that there is a one on the, if I do not mistake, on forestry and so on. If you go back on the CAP network, as I was saying, if you click on practice and project and practice, you go and you scroll there, you will see one category with EIP operational group and another one with Horizon. If you click on that one, you will see some of existing advisory networks that has been already selected and are very active. This is a bit that category that I was mentioning. This is thematic network that are dedicated to advisory services. But normally in those thematic network, the advisory network, you also have some partners usually who may not be advisory services, in fact. But it is in the frame of ACIS. It is related to ACIS and the new role of advisors, because they need to be skilled and train and update their knowledge. And it is a bit the purpose of those new advisory networks.
Okay, so thank you. Just one point, because I see several exchange about the format of the practical abstract, that if I don't wrong is still published in the P-Agri website. So you will find there the common format for the practical abstract, because there was an exchange between Pacom and Natalia on this point, and I also put the link inside the Slido question space on that. So, Pacom, at this point, I would like to thank you for your presentation and for your replies.
You're welcome.
And we will be, of course, in touch for future development about this multi-actor approach between the UCAP network and also the National Contact Point Network, for improving the knowledge and the sharing of experience for the European research and innovation communities interested in applying in Horizon Europe proposal. So thank you.
Thank you very much. See you.
Bye-bye. And now I would like to pass to the last presentation for this morning, that it's a tandem presentation, because we are going to discuss about what applicants need to know about the EU Farm Book and Premier project. Both Mark Redman and Susanne made this presentation, but if I don't wrong, Mark had some problem now in the connection, so Susanne will present for both the project the content of the presentation. So I see now Susanne on our virtual stage. So thank you, Susanne, for taking care of both the part of the presentation, also for the part of Mark. So thank you, and now the stage it's yours. Just one note: the presentation is not in full screen, so I don't know if you could modify it. You should
Hello,
share...
everybody. Yes, I am. Let me see.
You should share the screen and not share the window. So maybe in this way it's more easy for you.
Share the
screen and not the window.
Share the screen and the slides. Share the slides, or share the windows.
Yeah.
Share the slides. No. Sorry about this. I had it all prepared.
Yes, we also did a test, but sometimes when we are live, the text appears different. Emanuela, I don't know if you
does it work now? Can you see it? Is it now okay?
Let me check. It's still not in presentation mode, but it's okay. We can see anyway the content of the presentation. It's not so much. It's not in full screen, but we can see.
Now? Is it now better?
No, Susan, it's not in full screen, but it's okay. You can go. Let's try to go with the next one, just to understand if it's work.
So, sorry. Yeah, so welcome to this presentation. I am presenting both projects. Mark Redman was expected to start with the first outline of these slides, and now I'm taking over since he has internet connections. It's about working towards better prepared and more impactful multi-actor projects. Premiere and EU Farmbook are two projects who are supporting this process. And in my presentation, I will also use the precedent project Liaison, because we have produced interesting practice-oriented material, which is relevant for those that the national contact points support and for the coordinators of the project themselves. So I will present why these 2 or 3 projects, Premiere and the preparation of multi-actor projects with tips and tricks from Liaison, and then EU Farmbook and the development of an online platform, which is a knowledge reservoir, and then a few words for the outlook. So it's about topping and tailing the multi-actor project lifespan. Preparing multi-actor projects in a co-creative way is the title of the Premiere project. And EU Farmbook is about maximizing impact of the multi-actor approach. And here comes the precedent project, Liaison, which was about optimizing multi-actor partnerships and processes. I start with the highlights of the Premiere project with tips and tricks from the Horizon 20 project, Liaison. Why is this multi-actor approach so tricky in practice? And this refers to many discussions we've seen in the chat this morning. Stakeholder actors is often confused. Multi-actor is different to multi-stakeholder. And as this quote from a representative of an organic farming research network always says, and I cooperate very closely with him, it's often not easy to distinguish the real from the fake, but those involved will be able to judge very quickly. And this is also true for evaluators who read the proposals and are a little bit experienced in detecting the difference between multi-actor and multi-stakeholder. And it's now really about taking multi-actor serious. So this is Liaison, better rule innovation, linking actors, instrument and policies. And what I will do, I will run through very quickly these 5 how-to guides and what you will find in them, and then focus on Premiere project and what is actually offering. So one of the first guide is called Coming Together. So one recommendation here is thorough analysis of the particular call topic text in order to understand which competences are needed. And then go back to the existing partnerships of your organization, of the closely cooperating organizations, and of personal networks. That's where usually partners come from. We've heard a bit about brokerage events. It's always relevant to assess the potential of these partners, their knowledge, their expertise, and also their capacity. It's all about needs assessment. And then, as we've heard already, active engagement of all partners in the preparation of the proposal already. And here's a quote from a Liaison participant. It is sometimes difficult to match 2 very different worlds of researcher and entrepreneur, different language, different business models, different view on intellectual property. In order to successfully co-create, these 2 worlds need to be aligned and openness created among the partners. Good planning. Space is needed for all partners to share their vision, expectation, and red lines. And we will have an exercise later on after the lunch break and everybody is welcome to join. Common understanding needs to be developed. That's what participatory approaches are for. And the negotiation of an appropriate budget for each partner is also very relevant. And I included also this quote from an NCP team member. And this refers also to the blind evaluation. And I share this experience as an evaluator of proposals also. The document shows a consistent thread throughout the proposal when the consortium took multi-actor seriously. Then it's obvious the methodology and the work plan are needs-driven. And the design of various output and the dissemination of this output emerge from convincing practice orientation. So from my perspective, you actually don't need to see the partners involved. This is just a formal checking if they are involved, but you will sense it. And in particular, you would see the use of the term multi-actor, if it is used consistently and if it really represents the true engagement of the practice partners from the beginning in equal levels. Healthy partnerships. That's about running the project. And there was another question in the chat this morning about work packages or tasks. Do we need them? So if you want to make sure that the facilitation of all partners' involvement works well, then you can do regular self-reflections based on a task or a work package that focuses on how we work together as a consortium. Create opportunities for individual and collective learning to build skills and to facilitate co-innovation. And even in tough times, good spirit is very important. Connected partnership, and that's all about stakeholder involvement. There is no good multi-actor project, as well as no other research project, without strong stakeholder involvement. So long-term participatory processes for the involvement of external stakeholders and potential end users. Stakeholder platforms are good. Another opportunity is a community of champions who have credibility and trust in the sector or the region. Appropriate language, we've heard of this for quite a while. And here's a quote from a liaison macro-regional hub coordinator. Right from the beginning, we started to set up stakeholder platforms in 4 European macro-regions. We wanted to make sure to hear the voices also from underrepresented regions and to prepare early for the dissemination of results. Achieving impact, getting it right from the beginning, early start of dissemination, sharing preliminary results. You can dare so, or the projects can dare to do so and implement this already in the proposal text and say, well, we are collecting feedback, and then incorporate this in the final presentation of the documents. Use existing knowledge exchange activities, such as the EU Farm Book. I will talk about this in a minute. And involve farming and other stakeholders from the outset. We have also developed a toolbox in Liaison for the self-assessment as well as for participatory methods. And you will find them under these links, which I included here. So please come back to these slides and have a look later on. Premiere is a member of a family. And we've heard a lot, and the fact that we cooperate with Care for Bio today, that we have this shared presentation with EU Farm Book, is already a sign that we understand Premiere really as one piece in the bigger puzzle. What will Premiere offer in these 5 years, 23 to 27? We provide support to NCPs and CUP network brokerage events for new calls for multi-actor projects. We will also facilitate own brokerage. We will test seed funding and support operational group organizations to go Horizon Europe. There will be a first call in January 24, so look out for this and help us spreading this call in for a wide range of networks. What else? We will celebrate and connect new multi-actor projects after granting. We have set up macro-regional advisory groups, and in the coming years, 2 sets of 4 workshops per year will take place. A variety of events with and for policymakers and co-innovation support services such as the NCPs, SCAACIS, EU and national CAP networks, innovation support services, as well as private consultants will be offered. And we see here a picture just from last week. Paco was talking about the event run by the EU CAP network for national networks in Tallinn, and here we participated also. Online events, the Care for Bio project was involved in our macro-regional workshops. Various material are to come: creative visuals, how-to guides, practice sheets. It's all about showing how to make sure partners feel like sitting in the same boat and are aiming for the same purpose. Last but not least, Premiere is offering online and offline training for applicants and support service providers. We've heard already about the multi-actor simulation game, which will take place after the lunch break. We will develop an online series game. There's an online academy, including a MOOC to come, video testimonials of co-creative proposal writers, training for trainers. Why not experiencing the multi-actor with lots of fun? That's our simulation play. Premiere offers the offline and online mummy. When setting up a multi-actor partnership, it is important to understand the needs and interests of the different actors. And that is a practical experience on how to do it and how to provide support for those doing it. Try it. That's about Premiere and how to connect with us. Since Mark is not here, or is he back online in the meantime? If not, I will just continue with the EU Farmbook, because Eberswalde University I'm working for is also partner in EU Farmbook, so I'm very familiar with this project. EU Farmbook, it's about making a difference by maximizing your impact. Welcome to the EU Farmbook. It's an EU project developing a user-friendly online platform to help get the practice-oriented knowledge from EU-funded research and innovation projects and CSAs into the hands of farmers, foresters, advisors, and many others end users across Europe and beyond. Briefly back to the basics. All Horizon Europe projects have an obligation to disseminate and exploit their results, including appropriate transfer and licensing arrangements.
Susanne, if you want, Mark is inside.
Okay, great. Then I hand over to Mark, and then he can hop in with his point 2 of the basics.
Mark, I'm moving the slide, so please tell me in the number of the slide.
I'll continue, no worries.
No, Susanne, because we move it by the back.
Oh, okay.
The slide, because there was some problem with your presentation.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you want me to share from my screen now, or you will continue?
If you want, it's better.
Okay. Because I've made a few minor adjustments as well to reduce the length. Yeah, I will share.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So good afternoon, everybody, and I'm very sorry for this disruption. It's the unreliability of rural internet. I'm afraid, which I'm sure many of you have experienced. So I'm going to share my screen. Do you see that okay? No, I still see Susanna's screen.
No, it's still the Susanna screen.
Now, yes, there we are.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I must admit that I was aware of the fact that we were running rather late due to an overrun of a previous presentation. So I've actually changed the slide slightly and condensed a little bit. So it won't quite be continuous with Susanna's opening of the presentation. But what I want to do is to welcome you to the EU Farmbook, a project which I'm sure many of you have heard about already. As Susanna has said, Susanna is also working in the project, and so we have this very nice connection between the EU Farmbook and Premiere, this concept of topping and tailing the project, the multi-actor project lifespan. The important point is The Farmbook is a Horizon Europe project which is developing a user-friendly online platform to help get the practice-orientated knowledge. And I stress practice orientated. This is not another platform for scientific output. This is not for dissemination of deliverables. This is practice orientated knowledge from our EU funded research and innovation projects. Primarily at the moment, we're focused upon Horizon, to get that knowledge into the hands of farmers, foresters, advisors, and many other end users, including all ACIS actors. And Natalia was very, very importantly clarified the relationship between Horizon and ACIS earlier in the meeting. So the point which I want to make, particularly in the context of this meeting, in front of you as national contact points, in front of you as potential project beneficiaries, is that the EU Farmbook can greatly enhance, has been designed in order to enhance the dissemination, the exploitation, and the impact of past, present, and also, very importantly, future Horizon projects. It can help you to ensure that the practical outcomes of multi-actor projects are readily available and easily findable for all relevant end users, the dissemination function. It also has the potential to speed up the application and use of practical outcomes from multi-actor projects by various end users. That's the exploitation function. And also to help to embed the practical outcomes from multi-actor projects into these very important knowledge networks and developing and decision-making processes of end users. And that's where we start to make impact. Very specifically, in the context of multi-actor projects, the Farmbook can also address these two very specific points, again, that Natalia highlighted earlier in the meeting. First of all, it can contribute to getting practice and ready-to-use knowledge, approaches, tools, etc., making it much more easily understandable and much more freely accessible. It can also help you as project proposal writers to demonstrate how you can feed these materials into existing dissemination channels, etc., used by advisors, used by farmer organizations, etc. And the point is, this knowledge-orientated material, this is complementary to the practice abstract. So we're going well beyond the obligation to be producing and disseminating practice abstracts. So the important point to remember, to be aware of, is the fact that the development of a platform is actually a long-term process. It's taking 7 years. We're already just about 1 year into the process. In terms of giving you a very brief overview of the functionality, obviously the knowledge platform aims to make available a very broad range of knowledge objects uploaded by multi-actor projects. They'll be clustered into various thematic categories. It will be searchable by single or multi-word queries, with the potential also to filter the search results using various filtering options. It will also contain and deliver content in a multiple of formats, with suggestions also for other relevant knowledge objects. Knowledge objects is this specific term that we use for describing the practice-orientated outputs of your multi-actor projects. There'll also be the potential to comment on the knowledge objects inside of the platform. As I say, these are the functionality of the pilot version. And then there's a lot of other additional functionality that will be coming later as the platform is developed, including some very smart use of artificial intelligence in order to introduce a chatbot for more structured conversational discussion or interaction with the platform in order to explore the full extent of its content. There are a range of other features as well, which I won't go into now because time is extremely short. But I would like to highlight, first of all, if you would like to get involved with the farm book, not just as a potential beneficiary, but if you'd like to get involved in its further development, either simply to be kept aware of what's going on, or also to take the opportunity to interact with the project. We'll be having various focus groups, we'll be running various surveys, user feedback, then please click on this link, which will be in the presentation, which will be available afterwards, and you can express your level of interest to engage with the further development of the platform, from simply receiving the newsletter to being a regular participant in our focus groups. And one very important final announcement. On the 8th of February next year, there will be a pre-launch of the platform. This will not be the final launch in front of all the potential end users, farmers, foresters, advisors, educationalists. No, this will be focusing on the contribution, the population of the platform. In other words, the uploading of knowledge objects, practice-orientated knowledge objects from projects. So this is an event that we're inviting the project community to, that we're inviting national contact points to as very important intermediates and multipliers. So please save a date in your diaries. The registration link is already available. You can click on it here and you can register, and it will be a 1.5 hour online event with an awful lot more additional material and insights into the platform. So thank you for your attention, and sorry about the disruption at the beginning.
Thank you very much, Mark and Suzanne, for this presentation about the Premier EU Farm Book that it's, of course, of interest for the applicants in the multi-actor approach in Cluster 6. So I check the Q&A on Slido. There are not specific questions for you. So we are a bit late, around 30 minutes late compared with the agenda. So I would like to thank all the speakers that participate this morning to this training organized by Care4Bio about the multi-actor approach. The presentation will be shared in the Care4Bio website in the next days, and the link to the registration, the recording of the today session will be on the YouTube of Care4Bio. Now for the national contact points, it's foreseen an interactive session. It will be in Microsoft Teams. So I would like to ask to all the national contact point to connect in the room set in Microsoft Teams for our interactive session that will be made in cooperation with the Premier project. So I would like to thank you again, all the participants for this session, and I would like to meet you very soon in the next event that Care4Bio is going to organize for applicants that are active in the Cluster 6 of Horizon Europe. So thank you very much for your attention, and to all the speakers that cooperate with us in this session. Bye-bye. Thank you very much. See you with the national contact points in Teams. Bye-bye. Thank you.